Good evening and welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. It is Monday night. We've got the beautiful Tom Brunt. How are we doing, pal? You all right?
Yeah,
we got Dave Roberts, we got Neil, and of course we got Dan. How are we doing, lads? We okay?
Doing good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'll be absolutely honest. I didn't want to do this show tonight. It's Monday night. We lost against Chelsea, and I've been really frustrated the last 24, 48 hours, and I've come back to sitting on the fence a little bit now. So I thought to myself, I need to get this show out of my system. Do you know when you just had a bad day, you just feel like you need to go for a bit of exercise, you need to do a bit of a run, bit of a rant, bit of a vent. And I think this is possibly the only way I can get the Chelsea game out my system, by just talking through my frustrations a little bit. And I'm hoping you guys are the same with that. I've seen so many things on Facebook and Twitter about it was only Chelsea, it was an understrength squad. You know, if you're thinking this is our chance to, you know, a bit of tomfoolery with Tuchel, you know, we're going to have a bigger strength, a stronger squad. I just don't buy that. I can't believe there's City fans out there that genuinely think to themselves, you know what, it didn't really matter losing. What? Are you serious? That's twice they've beaten us now this season. They've got a fantastic mentality going into the Champions League final. And for me, and I mentioned this to you guys, and Dave, I'm going to pass this on to you in a minute, but for me, my mentality is, let's go in hard, beat them, get the confidence, win the league. Not just those two fantastic options, but then Chelsea have to play a full strength squad for their remaining games with a chance of getting Champions League next year. I just can't get my head around why other City fans don't agree with me. Dave, what's your thoughts on what I've said?
I couldn't agree more. But what I'll add to that is I don't think Pep put out the worst team. I really don't. If you look at that team on paper, that is world-class players. I know Aguero's not played very much this season, but we were strong at the back. Thought we played well at the back. I thought Laporte had quite a good game, actually.
Yeah.
We had our regular defensive midfielder playing, you know, in Rodri. We had world-class players all across the park. I still feel, even though that was our second team, we had enough to beat Chelsea, and we'd be talking very differently if Aguero would put that penalty away at the end of the first half, because it would have been 2-0, and I don't believe that Chelsea would have come back for that. They got the bit which we actually played really well for the last 10-15 minutes of the first half, and really well for the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, and then we just capitulated. We just fell away, and I don't know why we did that, but I agree with everything you're saying, Tom. I just feel that Pep didn't go out there intentionally to have a tough game and to lose. I felt he put a team out there that he thought he could win. What it proved to me, and I said this on our group chat, was that why Aguero's barely played this season. He doesn't have the legs anymore. He doesn't have the legs in the system that Pep wants to play. That was my big takeaway from all of it.
We'll come on to the penalty in a bit. Dan, what's your thoughts on the performance and what went wrong, and what's your general feeling about it?
I don't like jumping on this sort of, well, I always end up going back to it, but the narrative of Pep got it wrong.
Yeah.
For me, he set that up for not necessarily the loss. He obviously always says he wants to go in and win every game, quite rightly so. It would be ridiculous to say anything otherwise. But playing one man in midfield, anyone can bang on about, well, Mendy, Cancelo filled in that void. Mendy's hardly played, and when he does, he's crap. Cancelo's form has just suddenly gone out the window. We know how good he's been, especially at the beginning of the season and the last season. He's just not with it. You're playing Ake that's slowly starting to get game time. Similar with Laporte, just a little bit more. And then, you've just got Rodri on his own in midfield. We're lucky that Mason Mount didn't play for Chelsea, because he would have torn us to shreds. And I was saying it to our lads after the game. I'm really surprised we didn't get battered, because we allowed ourselves to be in that position with just having Rodri. I'm not saying Rodri had a bad game, because in my view, Rodri was probably one of the better players in our team because of the work effort he had to do. And he is an all-round work effort lad. He's so underrated, even by our own fans. But there's just something about me that thinks Pep just set it up for failure. And especially when you play Jesus, who's not really in the form. Torres is hardly played again. And Aguero, say what you want about him, he's hardly played this season. You tweak it after you win the game. Because like you said, Tom, win the game, we get to chill out. Test your formations in the last 3 games of the season. Throw a spanner in the works. See if you tweak something and you find a winning formula even more than what you have done. Just get the season wrapped up. I know people say, oh, well, injuries might have come if we played our best team. Kevin De Bruyne might have got injured. We still had to bring Foden and Gundogan on the pitch. What happens if either of them two got injured?
And Zinchenko. Weren't they missed, though? Yeah, weren't they missed? I mean,
they might as well have just taken the risk. Kevin De Bruyne, when he was out for them 8 weeks, half the City fans were like, oh, that's it, season ended already. We played some of our best football without Kevin De Bruyne in the team this season. We can do it. We've got a squad of world-class talent. Everyone bangs on about we've got 2 first team squads.
Yeah.
If one player gets injured, what do you do? We can replace him. No player's bigger than the club. Yes, we'll miss a certain player, but we can perform without them. I think we should have just got the game won, put the title to bed, concentrate on tweaking a little things, keep match fitness, rotation and stuff like that in the final few games when it don't matter. And like you say, Tom, Chelsea would have had to play their best team. Now, with West Ham dropping points the other night, Chelsea have a nice run in, and now we could be pushing the boat out with only 4 points between us and United before we play next.
Yeah.
Well said. Neil, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the fence on this one. So what I think is the FA Cup game was different, but this one I think Pep had the Champions League final a lot on his mind, because if you look at it now, we've played Chelsea twice under Tuchel with their main system, the 3-4-2-1, whereas we have never played our strongest system, which is the 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 false 9 double false 9 system. So if you look at it that way, then we have about 180 minutes of Chelsea playing directly against us with their strongest system, whereas Chelsea, they don't really know what to expect against us when we face them in the final. So in that sense, I can see why he went for a tweaked system. And well, obviously we can debate if this was the right tweak to make, like with as you mentioned about the midfield with just Rodri alone there. But I can understand why the system was tweaked. And to add to that, I can also understand why these players were played, because what we want is for, I don't think, I'd say only Ederson and Rodri will start the final out of this squad probably, right? And so what we have is, for our other 9 players, they'll go into that final with relatively fresh minds, having not played this match. Maybe Foden and Gundogan came on as subs, but it's different if you're starting, obviously. So I think they can approach the final with fresher minds and like a cleaner slate. And for that reason, I can also see why he played our B team. And at the end of the day, I really can't understand why we should care about Chelsea playing their first team or second team for the rest of the run in, because even if we had won, West Ham still dropped points, and they would still have that relative gap. And in either case, they have the most games to play out of the English clubs now, because they have the FA Cup final and the Champions League final, obviously, and all the league games left. So in either case, they will still have to do a bit of resting and rotating. And if we did, I think United are a good example. If we kept playing our best players on and on, you could see last night was Harry Maguire. Someone would eventually possibly get injured, and that's the last thing we want before the Champions League final. I'm not saying don't play them at all, but after just a few days after such a big match against PSG, where obviously they would have given everything, I can understand why you would give them a bit of rest when, let's face it, the title is wrapped up. I mean, Even if we don't have to win it at for me it is.
It's not.
No,
Even if we
no.
don't have to
It's
win
not
it
wrapped
at
up.
Newcastle,
Liverpool were guaranteed the title in 2014, and look how that
yeah,
ended
but
up.
Yeah.
we don't have Steven Gerrard. Look, if you look at United's fixtures, right? I can bet you they are going to slip up once in before we play, and after they draw one game, it's not mathematically over, but then it goes down to goal difference, and our goal difference is
Neil,
considerably
you have
considerably greater.
so much to learn about football. You started off so well, right? And you say that, honestly, it's so frustrating. I'm not going to give that justice. It's not until I see Sir Fernandinho lifting the trophy above his head.
Not over
It's
yet.
not
Yeah,
over. It's not over yet. I'm gonna have T-shirts made. It's not over yet. Coming back onto the point beforehand, I think you're spot on. I mean, City didn't play their best 11 system against either games against Tuchel. Systematically and rightly, neither of these games have any bearing on the Champions League.
exactly.
What we need, what I don't like is Chelsea now have the mental upper hand, which could be a downside for them in if you want to spin it on that sort of coin. But in these games, we were without John Stones, Gundogan, Zinchenko, Foden, KDB, Bernardo. All those
Walker.
players, thank you. All those players are first team regulars, whether we like it or not. So I think you're right, Neil. We have to be a bit more positive from that point of view and see that. I just, I'm splitting.
I'm not worried.
Am I worried? No, not really, because I'd love to have seen our best 11 against him, and that's that. Do you know what? I think that's why I'm disappointed. Pep's culpable for changing this. I think this is why I'm disappointed, because I wanted to see our best 11 versus their best 11, just to see for the dress rehearsal for the Champions League final, and we didn't see that. I don't even know if that's Chelsea. Was that Chelsea's full strength squad? I don't know. I don't watch Chelsea, so
That was they had
It
5
wasn't.
or so changes, but then, well, of course, Christensen got injured, so I'd say minus about 3 players, that was the best they had.
They didn't have Havertz playing, and
Mount.
Havertz had a brilliant
Yeah.
game against Real. They didn't have Mount playing either. That wasn't Chelsea's strongest squad. So if we'd have won that game, I guarantee you what Chelsea fans would be saying was, well, it doesn't matter because we didn't have our strongest team playing either.
We should say that.
It's just mind games.
Do you know one thing I've noticed this season, and this is going to be an epiphany now, and I'm going to record this. I'm going to tag Team Pep in on Twitter. When one thing I've noticed, this is groundbreaking, this lads. This is absolutely groundbreaking. Are you ready for this moment of truth? Whenever
Yep.
Pep starts fucking around with the formation and puts random players at left back, we tend to lose the match.
Crystal Palace.
Stop
Crystal
fucking
Palace.
around with the formation. I don't understand. It's not rocket science, is it? I mean, yeah, granted, Dave, you're spot on. There's loads of those players in that team that are world class. Loads of, I mean, I think we have to kind of pull this back a little bit and say who's culpable for this. Pep for throwing random formation. Was he trying something? Yeah, it didn't work. He has to take blame for that. Mendy, how can I phrase this politely? I don't think I can. I don't think I can phrase it politely or without getting myself arrested. He was poor. He was poor.
Yeah, he's
Dear
just
God.
not been the same player since he came back from 2 years of injuries. And I bet he knows that himself. He just hasn't.
I've watched a video. I don't know if anyone else has watched a video on Twitter where I don't know who the Chelsea right winger was.
Reece James, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It could have been Reece James. Yeah, Reece James skinned Mendy for pace, and it was the perfect line of sight. And behind the him skinning him for pace, Pep is like throwing his arms up in the air and going down to the floor, like, as in like, what you doing? What are you playing? I don't think we'll see Mendy play for City in an important game ever again. I just don't get it.
I think for me it's quite obvious. The guy can't defend. Like against Crystal Palace, for example, he was fairly decent because he had no defending to do. But whenever you ask the guy to defend, he can't do it. This was a good example. Even Leeds, I think the 1-1 draw, right? He was I think it was Poveda in the second half who absolutely exposed him. So Mendy, I think we can like use him as a fringe player for not so important, not so big games, but against good right wingers or right wing backs, there is no way we should be playing that guy because we can't defend.
I don't know, Dave and Dan. I don't know what you think about Mendy, but I just can't see a way back for him in the City team. You know me, I give players a lot of rope. Let's see what you can do. Give him a season, and it's got to that stage now where if City, if he comes up against a winger with pace,
Nah.
he's just left drowning on his own in the middle of the ocean. What do you think, Dave? Am I being a bit harsh there, or has my patience run out fully with everyone else as well?
No, I think you're exactly right. I said a couple of minutes ago, he has not been the same player since he came back from those injuries, and he was out for basically 2 years.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be the same player when that happens. You're just not at this level, not at this elite level. You're never going to be. We keep hearing that we're potentially going out in the summer and buying another left back anyway. I think Zinchenko, as Dan has said for many months now, easily our number one choice for left back.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He doesn't mind playing there. He's making it, he's making that spot his own. I think we keep with him. We maybe bring another one in. I don't know if anyone's coming through the academy that we do, but no, I'm the same as you, Tom. I wouldn't be surprised if Mendy is moved on in the summer. And yeah, we'll take an absolute massive loss on him because he's 50 million. We're not going to get more than 15 for him.
I agree.
No way.
He's got loan move, swap deal written all over it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Dan, you should know this. Anyone in Spain that we can swap him for? Because that's where I can see him going to. Is it Granillo? What's his name? Granillo, was it? Dan, who's the guy? Grimaldo. Yeah. There you go. Do a swap.
Yeah, we've also got Jose Luis Gaya at Valencia, who's half decent. But I at this point, Valencia might as well sell everyone they have because their owners are they're in some trouble. So I think that's one we should be looking at, to be fair. Jose Luis Gaya, he's fairly decent.
Right, yeah. Let's move this on because we're all disappointed. So let's talk about a couple of action points here because there's an argument to say we were lucky to go 1-0 up. I think when City scored, I was quite surprised and I was very happy with it. It was a bit of a weird situation with Aguero Sterling, wasn't it? But I'm just glad the ball's gone in the back of the net. Anyway, there's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Sergio's penalty because if that goes in, he's a hero. If it doesn't go in, he's every other naughty word under the sun. I'm still on the fence. I was furious. That's not an understatement. I was furious with him on Saturday night. Furious. I lost it a little bit. I said, right, substitute him, take him off at half time. Bit harsh, maybe. Dan, what do you reckon?
It doesn't matter who you are at the club. You can be a legend like Sergio, you can be David Silva, you could be Vincent Kompany taking that penalty, and I would still be telling Pep Guardiola to get him off at half time. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you've done for the club. We were 1-0 up against Chelsea. That goal goes in, that penalty goes in. I'm not saying we were guaranteed to score it even if he smashed it. But wait until we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-0 up before you try Panenka. It came out that he's tried it a couple of times in training and never scored in training. What makes you think you're going to do it against Chelsea?
Has he not scored a Panenka for City already as a penalty?
I don't think he's ever done that. He's usually been.
Are you sure?
Get to business.
I'm sure he scored a Panenka for City.
No,
I can't remember him trying.
Right, you carry on talking. I need to YouTube that because I'm sure I had a flashback.
But it's Chelsea, for crying out loud. You bury that penalty. Well, 2-0 up. I don't see Chelsea coming back into it because we're going 2-0
as well. That's for the title. It's not just against Chelsea. That is probably the title-winning goal if he got that.
Yeah.
And the fact that we would have gone in 2-0 at half time, which means then Pep can maybe start tweaking it, bringing in a midfield, maybe keep Mendy on with a bit more comfort with a 2-0 advantage and put Zinchenko in midfield and having that extra midfield, that pace, or maybe bring Bernardo on or something like that just to tweak it in the second half. I know it's not Pep's ideal thing to make a change, at half time, but if it were me, Sergio would have been dragged off at half time, because as much as you've done for this club and as much as we love you, it's a team game. You're playing for the team to win the title. I don't care what he's done in the past. This season, it's the rest of the team that have worked their ass off for that title, not Sergio, because he's been out for most of it. Injuries aside, yes, I understand that. But the rest of the team have pulled their finger out and got us to where we are. For him to go and do that, I think that's a really kick in the teeth for his teammates for that. And
bonkers.
I think that was selfish of him, very selfish. And
bonkers.
He'll be dropped for the next game for me.
Do you know what?
I don't think
he will. I think he'll start against Newcastle. I would. Do you know what?
Yeah,
I would put £100 on him starting against, just because Pep does that, doesn't he? If a player has a bit of a bad game, he'll play him the next game, just give him a bit more confidence.
It wasn't a bad game though. It was literally a kick in the teeth. Pep Guardiola's given him these couple of games run out at Palace. He scored a goal. Thought, you know what, you've done good. I'll give you a game against Chelsea as well, a top team. And he goes and repays his faith like that. He gets arsey with Sterling because Sterling nicked the ball off him, saying I could have scored that. He wasn't getting to that ball and sorting his feet out.
He wasn't. It was a bad touch, that one. That was never happening. That was a bad touch. I'm glad Sterling was there.
In his head that he's almighty all of a sudden, and because he's leaving, he gets to do all this stuff. It doesn't work like that.
Well said.
I honestly believe on Saturday that was Pep making a point. Look where Aguero played. Look at the formation on Saturday. Aguero wasn't a striker. He was playing behind Jesus as a false nine. And I honestly believe Pep was making a point that I'm going to give you 90 minutes, Sergio, because this is how I want to, this is my formation. This is how I want to play the game. And this means that you're running and you're interchanging with Torres, with Sterling, like you're going in between, you're running between the lines. And Aguero proved that he can't do that. Aguero proved that he's an out-and-out striker. Now on Friday, if Pep says to Aguero, right, I'm playing you as a striker at that most forward position, then fair enough. But if Aguero plays like he did that same formation as behind a striker, Aguero will not be able to do it, because that just showed to me on Saturday he's done at this club. I'm not taking anything away from what he's done for Manchester City. He's an absolute legend. But basically, Guardiola has played all this season with 3 false nines, right? Everyone in that forward line has been interchanging and running and collecting the ball and moving around. That's not Aguero's game. And I think Pep was saying on Saturday, if you wanted another contract, this is how I wanted you to play next season. And he couldn't do it. Simple as that.
Well said. Right. Okay. Moving on. Other penalty decision that didn't go against us. It went against us was the 4 touches in the box, Sterling, and I'm still sat here wondering what happened. What does everyone else think about this?
I mean, yesterday in the United game, Douglas Luiz had one swipe at Pogba and he went down, and then just for one swipe he gets attacked. I think Dean Smith said it post-match, right? Like Sterling, he gets kicked 4 times and it's no penalty, and then Pogba gets kicked once and then it's a penalty. So I mean, at this point, I don't know why I'm even surprised, because it's such a repetitive theme now. These referees are so in all we want is consistency. Even if we don't agree with a decision on its own, if we see that decision being repeated everywhere you go throughout the season, irrespective of the team or the match or whatever, I'll take it. But it's I mean, that was a stonewall penalty in either case. But had you not given it and not given Pogba's one yesterday, I still might have accepted it a bit. But after that, I mean, it makes no sense.
It would have been consistency if neither of them were given. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
one was given that was more of a penalty than the other. It shows VAR as well in that inconsistent light again. VAR needs to be consistent as pigeon shit on Trafalgar Square. That's what VAR needs to be, but it isn't.
But I don't think you can blame VAR, right? Because I mean, the technology, it's just there to show you the video. Once again, it's the referee sitting behind those monitors who are being inconsistent, incompetent. It's I don't know what to say, because it's doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith Hackett's come out hasn't he? The ex-referee, and said VAR didn't award Sterling a penalty for City because of the inexperience of the official Stuart Atwell.
Yeah, well,
And that's just not good enough for me. That I just don't buy that at all.
I can name a billion referees previous to him that have got decisions wrong. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. You can still
yeah.
get it wrong.
You have a monitor to watch that 5 times over, and if you watch that 5 times over and still think it's not a penalty, then I'm sorry, you are not competent to be a referee at the Premier League level. Because
100%.
Right. Okay. Let's get some positivity going in this, because it's all a bit doom and gloom in a minute. So let's try and spin this on its head. I went down to the Etihad Stadium on Saturday with my son Max, and I tell you what, the atmosphere outside was brilliant. If you get the opportunity to go to watch the bus coming in with the players, I reckon there's about 2,500 fans down there, and it was fantastic atmosphere, really good. A few fireworks going off, a few blue and white flares, one or few cans of lager. It was just no pyro, no party. It was just like a pre-game match, experience. It was fantastic. I loved it. And my son, he's 8. Absolutely, probably enjoyed the sausage and chips more than the team bus coming in. But when the team bus, because the players went from the Lowry to the Etihad campus, got on the City coach from the Etihad campus to the ground. And when the coach came, honestly, it was like it was like a goal in the Kipax. The swell of fans moved forward towards the pitch. It was like that. It was brilliant. All the City fans were banging on the coach, giving it absolutely large. If anyone's listening to this or watching this and they get the opportunity to do it in the next home game, do it, because it was brilliant fun. It was the closest I've had to a home game in a year or so. So yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, it was great. Really well policed as well. Actually, the police were great fun, having a laugh and a joke and stuff. And obviously, there's nothing serious went off. No away fans or anything like that. And as you can imagine, the Chelsea coach has got the fair few fingers pointed at him in the wrong directions, which was lovely to see. Obviously, I was well clear of that with my son. But no, that was great. But it's going to be an exciting week for us, this, lads. The problem is I'm doing one thing now which I didn't want to be bloody doing. I'm listening to United scores. I'm literally looking for United scores, because I didn't want to do this against Chelsea. I wanted to be home and dry now. Now I'm kind of relying on Leicester and Liverpool now to get a result for us, and I don't want to be doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't feel, it doesn't have the same feeling when someone else does it for you. But yeah, well, we'll take a title either way.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd love Leicester to give him a good spanking, but I've got Dave. I've got this thing in the back of my mind thinking, do you know what? United are going to absolutely spank Leicester, and they're going to spunk it against Liverpool, and it really worries me that we're going to get a draw against Newcastle, and it's twitchy bum time then.
It is.
I can't be the only person thinking this.
This is what happened to United 9 years ago. They were well ahead, and then we just put that incredible run together at the end, and won on points different. On goal difference. I can't see it with this particular Pep team, but yeah, I've been a City fan for way too long to know that it's not going to be that easy. There's something going to happen. Yeah, definitely.
Don't get me wrong. If Ian Atshow decides to come on and score a hat trick, then I'll be the first one to be shouting his name from the rooftops.
And then James Milner for Liverpool.
And then Jimmy Milner slots one past Henderson, who is in net for them.
See, there's no on the fence or either side for me. It's bang on. It's not over till it's over, Tom. Like you say, it's not over yet. Like I keep going back to it because it's the most outright case example, albeit it's the dippers. That 2014 season for Liverpool, they had Suarez banging in the goals. One of the most consistent players in the Premier League history in Steven Gerrard. Suarez couldn't score. Gerrard slipped 2 games. City had a great run of games. United have a good run of games. City slip up and lose a game.
Why are we saying this?
Yeah, but
the majority of people, like Neil, sorry pal, I'm going to throw you under the bus a bit here, mate. Why are people saying it's done and dusted? I don't get why people think it's done. Enlighten me, Neil.
Till last week, I mean, there were people there were people, I'd say around March, who were, sort of talking of title. I kept it all in till last week, but then after United's match against Liverpool got rescheduled, that was the time I was like, this is over, because there is no way in the world they're going to win both the next matches after Aston Villa as well, where they lost Maguire. I do not see that happening. And as I said, one draw and it's done, because they need to score like 10 or something
Is
to
Maguire out then? Is
turn it
Maguire
over.
definitely out?
Yeah,
Not,
he's
not, not that
gone.
not that I'm bothered or anything, but is he out?
Yeah, he's out. He is out.
Is he out? Is he
Yeah, so
injured?
I
yeah, he
believe
is.
so,
Yeah, I saw
This
that.
is this is
He,
United. He'll play. He'll play. They're a bunch of
nah,
bastards, United. They get your hopes up any little
he,
way they can, and then they'll go and pull prime Cantona out from somewhere.
To go back to what you said,
he's
Neil,
done.
a second ago, then where United will drop points against Liverpool and Leicester. I'll go back to what I
One
was
of the
saying
two.
to
One of the two.
Halifax. Well, either or then. I'll go back to what I said to Dan Halifax in our previous chat. Can you 100% tell me they will drop points against them two teams? 100%.
I'd say 99.99%. I'm
You
incredibly
can't be
confident.
100%. This is what wipes the
Yeah,
floor of
but
anybody
then
who has that argument, because you can't be 100% that they will.
yeah. I
Don't
can't be
get me wrong.
100%.
I want to get my case out. I still think we'll win the title. That's my personal view. I still think we'll win the title. But case history has proven that it's not over until it's over. And the Premier League is the biggest bastard of the types of throwing in last minute story drama. We've obviously witnessed it ourselves 10 years ago. So
Yeah.
I hate that City have done this to me. I hate it. I hate it. I hate City. Absolute bastards, aren't they? Honestly, 38 years I've been supporting City, and I don't think I've ever been happy.
They don't let you.
I just can't. I can't even celebrate goals anymore. When Sterling scored that goal with Aguero, I was like, "Oh yes, fantastic." Then I was like,
VAR.
waiting for the flag, waiting for VAR.
Yeah, the foul,
and then they
because
stopped a couple of
went
minutes,
down.
didn't they, to fanny around, and I can't celebrate football anymore. I don't know. Dave, help me out here, mate.
It would be a City fan. It's true.
What's that sign? Supporting Manchester City is seriously harmful for your health.
Bad for your health.
Yeah.
It's true.
Still gets me to that title winning.
I'm only 18. Look at the state of me.
It reminds me of that lad, that old elderly chap at the end of the 2012 title win. Goes, I've been supporting City for 71 years. I had long curly hair. Look at it. Sorry, mate. Just jump in. Laney wants to jump on. He's waiting.
Oh, what does he want? Here we go.
He wants to get his point across.
I'm about to go to bed. Hang on.
Very interesting.
He needs to invite him. He needs to ask to come in. I can't invite him. He needs to.
Oh, he says he's waiting.
No, he's not waiting here. Hang on.
Right. Keep talking.
Hang on. Hang on. There he is. Hang on.
Should be on.
Right, Chris, you've got 5 minutes. I'm knackered.
Where's the makeup?
Food. Oh, hang on. He's fucking hell. There he is.
There we go.
Right, you've got 5 minutes. Chris, you're 41 minutes late, so you got 5 minutes. Say your piece, pal, because I'm hungry and tired.
Oh yeah, sorry. What have I missed?
Everything we've talked about. Everything. What do you want to talk about? We've literally, you're 41 minutes late.
Oh no, I just wanted to hop on. Honestly,
what you tell us everything that you're thinking, Chris. This is your soapbox moment, pal.
Earthquakes.
All right, I'll tell you what, because I said this the other night on the thingy chat. I wanted to explain sort of like my critical thinking, if you like. Do you remember after the Dortmund match, not the Dortmund game, the PSG match, second leg, final whistle? What happened at the end of the game?
I think I got pissed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Well, remember at final whistle, you had like Oh God, let me think. It was like Diaz, Stones, Walker, Fernandinho, all jumping in together, celebrating. You had Zinchenko on his knees, practically ready for crying. You know, that was the sort of reaction of the players. In my mind, there was literally 3 reactions that all happened at once in my head at that moment. One of it was proper overjoyed because obviously we were now in a final. But then looking at the players, one part of me looked at them and thought, to me, that is almost small club mentality because they were celebrating as if we'd won you know, I don't remember the last time Real, Barca, Munich.
Yeah, because they're in it all the time, aren't they?
Well, I know, but that's it. But it's like
you can't be having a go at the players for celebrating getting into a final.
Yeah, come on, it's first final.
But that he said there was three things that all went through my head at once. That was one of them, and on the other hand, I instantly got taken back to the second leg of the semi-final playoffs against Wigan. And I remember then at full time when we beat Wigan 1-0 on our way to Wembley. There was a huge pitch invasion. The players were hoisted up, and that was a celebration. And to be honest, that's how I think it. Honestly, I think if the fans would have been allowed in the stadium for PSG, I think that's honestly what would have. That's probably what would have ended up happening. There would have been a pitch invasion. It would have been a massive party.
Tell you what, though, UEFA would have hit us with a stick there, wouldn't they? Imagine them kicking us out for doing that.
5 million quid.
As if anyone would have cared what UEFA would honestly have done to the point. But I was just trying to explain, like, that's how my head honestly works, all in the space of like 2 seconds.
You've got to think that, though, Chris, that was, I don't think any one of those players has been in a European Cup final, right?
Yeah,
not
exactly.
One of them. And I honestly believe that's what they were celebrating, just from a personal standpoint. I think Zinchenko was already, pretty much in tears. This is a guy who's, grown from nothing in the Ukraine, with nothing.
He led a war.
Almost sold him, a couple of seasons ago, but he put his heart and soul into Manchester City Football Club, and look where he is now. He's on the cusp of a European. I think that's what the celebration was. I think for the celebration for the fans, it was very much, we've won the European Cup Winners' Cup, but that was 50 years ago. This was a celebration of, we have made it to a European Cup final. Like, this is something that the Dippers and the Rags, even Tottenham have done that.
Yeah.
And now we were there. That's the way I took it, that I saw a real team spirit between, and relief for Pep as well, because he knows that's why he got the job at City, win us the Champions League. That was his mandate when he took over. And I think it was an explosion of all of those just different feelings of, God, from a personal standpoint, I've never got there before. This is incredible. The club has never got there, and relief for Pep that, we've got there at last. What's it, 10 years since he was last in a European Cup final?
Yeah.
I think that was. I loved the way they celebrated at the end personally.
Yeah, I think it was against all the odds, and I think if any of you've got Lee Crooks on Facebook, shortly afterwards, the picture he posted, it was like split screen. Top of it was the players at Wembley, on the knees celebrating with the fans, because that was like 21, 22 years ago, and then below it was the the picture of us, the lineup ready for
99
for that semi, and it's like, well, wasn't it? What was it? The day that we actually had the semi-final, the second leg, wasn't that something like to the day almost that we'd been relegated all those years ago with Joe Royal as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What a turnaround! But I'm glad you mentioned Zinchenko, because there was something I remember I wanted to actually ask you all now. There was something the other way, and it was something to do with, like, best Premier League bargains. It was one of those, match of the day things where they have people discussing it. And I always
Yeah.
used to think of, to me, one of the best City bargains we've ever had was Sean Gota, £100,000. But I just want to know what, I mean, City allegiances aside, what do you want us to think is the best left-back bargain between Alexander Zinchenko and Paul Robertson from Liverpool? Because he was a bargain for, when they bought him.
He was
Wolves,
8 million, wasn't he?
Wolves, was he?
I think it was Hull City.
Hull.
Hull.
He was
'Cause, I mean,
Dundee. He was Dundee for 2 million to Hull, and then 8 million from Hull to Liverpool.
Do you know what, Chris? That's a really good question. That, and I thought your question was going to be, is there a better bargain than Zinchenko in football? And I'm questioning myself, thinking,
There's a lot.
what
Jamie
does
Vardy.
what does Zinchenko need to do to be that?
That's a good shout, Neil.
What does Zinchenko actually need to do in the grand scheme of things, football wise, to be the bargain? And I don't know.
I think what many of us tend to forget with Zinchenko, he's what, 23, 24. So he's still he's still in the formative years of his career, right? So before we start comparing him to like the likes of Paul Robertson or any other accomplished left back, you have to remember that he's still got about 8 odd years at the top level, which by this standard, given the fact that he could have left us on 2 or 3 occasions and he didn't leave us, and the way he's playing now, I'm pretty sure he's going to spend them with us. So with that in mind, I would say that this question is, well, I wouldn't answer it yet because I want to see what he does in those 8 years, and that's why, given his potential and given what he's doing right now, I would say he's certainly a very, very good shout right now because he's so good.
Can I ask a question? And this is a really engaging topic, this, Chris. What for me, I think is Zinchenko. I think back up straight away. What has he got to do? What has he got to do to solidify that place? So when we're looking for a left back in the future, it's going to be a backup to Zinchenko. I'm still in the mentality that he's not our first choice, but then I think about this season and he has been outstanding. But is he still Pep's first choice left back? Will Pep still be looking for a left back next season?
I think that showed a lot on Saturday that he didn't play, Tom. I know he played
Yeah.
PSG earlier in the week, but he's now being picked for the very, very big games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Champions League, he brought him on Saturday
First
as
leg.
well. And we did change a little bit when he came on. We were a lot more, better attacking when he came on. I sincerely believe Pep now sees him as a first choice starter left back. I really do.
So then when we're getting a new left back next season, which
Yeah.
I'm sure we will be, because I'm sure that'll be one of the key areas. Dan, Chris, I listened to your 4 podcasts the other day. They were outstanding. If you're listening to this, episodes 1 to 4, lads, everyone else listen to this. You get a chance on YouTube or podcast. Episodes 1 to 4, you'll see them straight away. We'll put them on Saturday. They are brilliant, and left back was a discussion topic of it. So, for me, of areas where we do need to strengthen it, it's got to be left back. Yeah. I like the idea of central midfield, etc., etc. And obviously, we need a striker. In my opinion, in my book, we need a striker. But I am asking myself the question now: do we need a first choice left back, or do we need a replacement for Zinchenko? And Neil, I'm glad you just told me Zinchenko's only 23, 24. Actually, do you know what? He could leave the club as a legend in 5 years if he goes on to win things.
Easily.
He is 24. He's not 25 until the end of the year in December. He has played 97 times for City, so he's almost in the 100 club already. He's captain of the Ukraine, and I know he plays in a different position for them. And we say this all the time, lads. He loves Manchester City.
Yep.
And you can't buy that. You cannot buy a player who absolutely loves your club and bleeds for them. We had the last one who springs to mind for me is Zabaleta.
Zabba.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
And he reminds me of that. He will put his like Diaz did the other night. Zinchenko will put his body on the line for City. You can't put a price on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to add to whether we buy a first choice or a second choice, I said this before. the type of left back that Zinchenko is, I don't think there's many available on the market. So obviously for Ukraine, he plays an advanced position, which means that he can, be useful in attack. He can overlap and everything. But then often in our system where we shift to a back three in possession, he is the left-sided, well, center back in that back three. And I'd done a bit of a data analysis, I think, a couple of months back. And among fullbacks in the league, he was the third best at passing in terms of ball retention, ball progression, so how far forward his passes go, and also pass success rate. So if you look at it from both his attacking qualities and also his ball retention and overall possession play, which come as a result of him starting off as a midfielder, I think that sort of a left back is very hard to find. I don't think I can't think of any top level left back who can do both at equal in an equally good way. So for that reason, I have to think that Zinchenko has to be our first choice left back after this season, especially. So if we're looking for someone, we have to look for a second choice.
Chris, what's your thoughts on Zinchenko?
For me personally, I think in the in the summer transfer window, I think we do need to sign. I think we could do with 2 left backs, a first choice and a second. And I think the first choice needs to be Zinchenko on a proper contract.
Yeah, okay.
Because he was bought for 1.7 million. He's not going to be on the big money. He's not going to be rewarded for his loyalty that he's shown to the club on numerous occasions already. And I think some trust needs to be, something needs to be given back to the lad. I love him to bits. I've always said he should be our first choice left back. He's been better than Mendy. It's certainly more sensible. I think more mature than bloody Mendy has been. All the ones who've come before him, since Zinchenko's been there, I can't think of another left back who I'd rather have. I think the one thing he needs to show that he is the real deal is a proper contract. They've always gone on about KDB signing one or Foden signing one, or looking at Aguero or Fernandinho's contracts, extending them. Let's look at the heart and soul of the team. Players like Zinchenko, players like Ederson. They're the ones who need the long-term contracts that just shows, you're wanted at this club. You're going to be a key part of it. He just needs rewarding.
Good answer. Good answer.
There's another left back, Laney, I'm very, very surprised that you didn't say, who came on a free to Manchester City.
Danny Tiato.
No. I'm quite surprised. He only played for a season, but I think he was very important to us. I'm really surprised you didn't mention him.
What year?
I'm trying to think back now. Wouldn't have been Wayne
2001, 2002 season.
Not Stuart Pearce.
Yeah.
Pearce. Yeah, Stuart Pearce.
Played almost every game that season. 43 games.
Dave, were you there? Were you there when he missed that penalty?
Yeah.
What a dick!
Oh.
Honestly, we talk about penalty misses. What a dick! The goalkeeper even told him what side to put the bloody thing. The goalkeeper come out and said, "Stick it to the left. I'll go to the right." Whatever it was, the other way. We'll both go to the left. I think that's what it is. He just hammered it into the nearly at the boxes at the back of the net, didn't he? Back of the.
He blasted it into the Platt Lane.
Platt Lane, bloody hell! What a pillock. Could have. That was the 100 goals for That was the 100 goals as well for City, wasn't it? Or was it 100 goals for him?
100 goals for him.
It would have been 100 goals for him.
And it would have been.
And if you remember, Bernabia set up the penalty as well. Bernabia basically hooked the ball up and made the player handball it. It wouldn't have been given nowadays, that as a penalty, because he deliberately put the ball against the player's hand. And they go, yeah, it's a penalty. And yeah, it was Dave Besant in goal, wasn't it?
Dave Besant, that's it. I couldn't remember his name.
And Dave Besant went, Stuart just put, because I think they're mates outside of the game. I think they're mates. They said, yeah, just put it that way. Because I think we were 3-0 up or something already. And he just blasted it into the Platt Lane.
Absolutely brilliant.
But I would have Stuart Pearce as a left back at City. That would be not a bad backup to Zinchenko.
Better left back than manager.
By a long
that's good. Yeah.
Right, we're ending it there. We're all smiling. I'm leaving it on a positive note. Chris, lovely to see you, mate. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. I'm done.
I have a
just
question.
woke up.
Oh, here we go. This is
where
I throw my laptop out the window. Go on.
I've already picked my Champions League 11. I already know.
Yeah, I know mine.
And,
yeah.
I
I
know
know
what
mine
I'm doing here. I'm playing Dino in midfield, and I'm putting Rodri on the bench.
Yeah, I agree. I play the same
He's the
team.
captain.
I play the same team
I
that we
don't
played the other night.
Rodri.
SPSG. Yeah.
What are the odds that he plays them both in a double fucking pivot?
That's just something for you to go away and think about, Dan. That's why I'm saying it. Dino's my DM for that game, and Rodri's on the bench.
Not for me.
All right.
All right, this is a pod for another guy. We've got like 3 weeks. We got 3 weeks of this, haven't we? We need a Champions League one. We need a Champions League final.
And the title's gonna be wrapped up.
Oh, stop it, Neil.
Yeah, hopefully by 3 weeks it will.
Well, hopefully it will be. Yeah, I think it wrapped up. That's the promise. But I'm not getting excited. Right, I am so hungry. I've not eaten. I've literally been to work, got back to my hotel room, turned my laptop on, started talking to you lot, and I could eat my laptop. I'm going. See you later. Thank you very much for joining us, lads. No, I'm going. See you later. Love you guys. Up the Blues.
See you
Cheers, Blues.
later, guys.